The Little Inventor. Once upon a time, in a quiet and picturesque village surrounded by rolling green hills and a sparkling river, there lived a boy named Yusuf. Yusuf was no ordinary child. While other children spent their days playing in the fields, Yusuf could always be found tinkering in his small workshop. His curious eyes gleamed with wonder, and his mind was always brimming with ideas. Yusuf wasn't just a dreamer, he was an inventor. Yusuf lived with his family in a modest house on the edge of the village. His father worked tirelessly as a farmer, and his mother baked bread to sell at the market. Despite their struggles, Yusuf's determination to make life easier for his family and the village never wavered. Every evening, after finishing his chores, he would retreat to his workshop, a tiny shed filled with scrap metal, old wires, and broken gadgets he had collected over the years. A spark of inspiration. One evening, as Yusuf sat on a hill overlooking the village, he noticed the long line of villagers carrying heavy buckets to fetch water from the distant river. Each step they took seemed more laborious than the last, their backs bent under the weight of the buckets. Among them was his mother, her hands red and calloused from years of hard labor. "There has to be a better way," Yusuf whispered to himself. His heart ached for his mother and the others. Suddenly, an idea sparked in his mind. What if he could invent something to bring water from the river to the village? Excited by the thought, Yusuf raced back to his workshop and grabbed his notebook, a worn but cherished possession where he scribbled all his ideas. He began sketching furiously, his pencil moving quickly across the pages. By the time he was done, the design of his first water pump was complete. The first challenge. The next morning, Yusuf set out for the village market. He needed materials to build his invention, but with only a few coins in his pocket, he knew he had to be resourceful. He approached the blacksmith, a tall man with a kind yet curious expression. "Excuse me, sir," Yusuf began, trying to sound confident, "do you have any scrap metal or old tools I could use? I'm working on something important." The blacksmith raised an eyebrow. "Something important, huh? What's a young boy like you working on?" Yusuf hesitated for a moment before replying firmly, "I'm building a machine to bring water from the river to the village." The blacksmith let out a hearty laugh. "Ambitious, aren't you? Well, I like ambition. Take what you need, lad, but remember, tools alone don't make an inventor. It's your mind and heart that matter." Grateful, Yusuf collected the scraps of metal the blacksmith offered and moved on to other stalls, bartering for old rubber tubing, a worn-out crankshaft, and other odds and ends. By the end of the day, his bag was full, and his heart was bursting with hope. The workshop comes to life. Back in his workshop, Yusuf began assembling the parts he had gathered. The tiny shed echoed with the sounds of hammering, sawing, and the occasional frustrated groan as Yusuf worked tirelessly. Days turned into weeks, and his small hands grew calloused from twisting wires and fitting gears. Finally, Yusuf completed his first version of the pump. It was crude but functional, or so he believed. Eager to see it in action, he carried it to the river, a few curious villagers trailing behind him. As Yusuf began to turn the handle, the machine sputtered and groaned. For a brief moment, it seemed as if it would work, but then it collapsed with a loud clank. The villagers chuckled, and Yusuf's cheeks burned with embarrassment. The first failure. That night, Yusuf sat alone in his workshop, staring at the broken pieces of his invention. Doubt crept into his mind. Maybe the villagers were right. Maybe he was too young and too inexperienced. But then he remembered his father's words, "Failure isn't the end, it's the first step to success." Renewed determination filled his heart. "I'll try again," Yusuf whispered. He spent the next week redesigning the pump. He studied the flaws in his first design and made adjustments. When the new version was ready, he tested it in his workshop. This time, it worked. Water flowed smoothly into a bucket. Confident, Yusuf took the improved pump back to the river. But when he set it up and began to crank the handle, the pipe burst, spraying water everywhere. The villagers laughed again, and Yusuf's confidence wavered. The second failure. Back at the workshop, Yusuf felt defeated. 2 failures had shaken his resolve, but he refused to give up. This time, he decided to seek advice. He approached the village elder, a wise and kind woman named Nura. "Elder Nura, I've tried twice and failed. I don't know what I'm doing wrong," Yusuf admitted. Nura smiled gently. "Every great inventor faces challenges, Yusuf. Failure is a teacher, not a foe. Listen to it, and it will guide you." Inspired by her words, Yusuf examined every detail of his design. He realized that the materials he was using were too weak to handle the pressure. He needed sturdier pipes and a better mechanism to regulate the flow of water. The turning point. Yusuf spent weeks gathering stronger materials and rebuilding his invention. He worked late into the night, fueled by determination and the belief that he could succeed. Sparky, his loyal dog, stayed by his side, offering silent encouragement. Finally, the third version of the pump was ready. Yusuf felt both excitement and nervousness as he wheeled it to the river once more. The villagers gathered, skeptical but curious. As Yusuf cranked the handle, the machine groaned but didn't collapse. A moment later, water gushed out of the pipe in a steady stream, filling the waiting barrels. The villagers erupted in cheers. Yusuf's mother hugged him tightly, tears of pride streaming down her face. "You did it, my son," she whispered. A ripple of change. Yusuf's invention transformed life in the village. The pump saved time and effort, and the villagers began to see him not as a dreamer but as a problem solver. Encouraged by his success, Yusuf continued to innovate. He built a windmill to grind grain, a pulley system for lifting heavy loads, and even a machine to help with planting crops. His workshop became a hub of creativity and inspiration. The shadow of doubt. However, not everyone celebrated Yusuf's success. Jealous merchants spread rumors that his inventions were unreliable. One night, Yusuf returned to his workshop to find it ransacked. Though heartbroken, Yusuf refused to give up. With the support of his family and the villagers, he repaired the damage and proved that perseverance could overcome even the most difficult challenges. The bright future. Years later, Yusuf's fame spread far and wide. His inventions reached neighboring towns, improving the lives of thousands. Despite his success, Yusuf remained humble, dedicating himself to teaching young inventors and helping his community. The wisdom of Yusuf. Yusuf's story became a legend. It taught that failure is not the end but a step toward success, that determination can overcome any obstacle, and that innovation can change lives. As Yusuf looked up at the stars each night, he knew there were endless possibilities waiting to be discovered, and he was ready to dream again. The moral of the story. 1. Failure is a stepping stone to success. 2. Perseverance and determination can overcome any challenge. 3. Creativity and innovation can make the world a better place. Did you enjoy the story? Don't forget to subscribe to your channel Kids Spot, hit the bell icon to be the first to know about our next story, and share this one with your friends. We'd love to hear from you. Who wants to share an idea for our next story? Let us know in the comments and be part of the magic. This is your channel, Kids Spot.